Good evening and welcome to TC Network. I am Tingnay Tim Hokip bringing you today's news. Today's top headlines include: Mizo groups condemn killing of Markuki village volunteers. Third anniversary of second village killings. KSO demands justice for fallen soldiers. Kuki student bodies declare expanded boycott of CRPF. News in details. The Mizo Zirlai Pol MJP, the apex student body in Mizoram, and the Mizo National Front MNF, a former ruling political party, have issued strong and emotional statements condemning the recent violence in Manipur that led to the brutal killing of 31-year-old Jo Sangkim Mar and the deaths of 10 Markuki volunteers. Both organizations have called for swift action from the Indian government to address the escalating ethnic violence in the region, particularly the actions of extremists and the Central Reserve Police Force (CRPF). The MJP, headquartered in Aizawl, expressed deep distress over the death of Jo Sangkim Mar, a member of the Mar tribe, who was allegedly attacked and killed by Meitei extremists in Jairon village, Jiribam district. The student body condemned the animal-like behavior of the alleged perpetrators, emphasizing that such acts of violence have no place in a civilized society. MJP also mourned the loss of 11 Kuki warriors who had died while defending their community in Jakrodar, Jiribam district in previous violence. In a statement, the MJP paid tribute to these fallen heroes, vowing that their blood would not be shed in vain. In its condemnation of the violence, the MJP called on what they term as Meitei extremists to immediately cease their attacks and urged the Indian government to take decisive action against this extremist group. The student body also expressed its disappointment with the Central Reserve Police Force, accusing them of failing in their role as neutral peacekeepers. MJP claims that the CRPF involvement has already served to escalate the violence, and they called for accountability for the CRPF personnel involved in the attacks. The CRPF involvement has tarnished the image of the government of India and the state of Manipur, the MJP stated. We demand that the Ministry of Home Affairs take immediate action against the CRPF personnel responsible for the violence. Meanwhile, the Mizo National Front, a key political party in Mizoram, expressed shock and sadness over the deaths of 10 Markuki volunteers who were allegedly killed by the CRPF while defending their village. The MNF denounced the actions of the CRPF, criticizing their failure to remain neutral in the ongoing ethnic conflict. The party emphasized that the CRPF action risks further inflaming the already fragile situation in Manipur. We extend our heartfelt condolences to the families of these fallen heroes and pray for their strength during this difficult time, the MNF said in a statement. The extrajudicial killings on November 11 are a tragic example of the CRPF discriminatory actions against Mizo tribes. The party also urged the Mizo peoples to stand united in the faces of violence, recalling the traditional Mizo saying, "Dam leet lang khata, thi le rom khata." If we survive, we will survive together, and if we die, we will ensure no one dies alone. The MNF expressed solidarity with the victims' families and with the Mizo community in Manipur, calling for a rededication of the cause of Mizo unity and self-determination in honor of the sacrifices made by these volunteers. As the bodies of the fallen heroes are brought home from Silchar to Lamkavia, Mizoram, the MNF General Headquarters called on Mizo people across the region to pay tribute to the martyrs during their procession. The Central Young Mizo Association (CYMA) has organized a reception ceremony at Thuampui in Aizawl, where MNF leaders are expected to attend and honor the fallen heroes. Both the MJP and the MNF have emphasized the need for peace, justice, and accountability as the ethnic conflict in Manipur continues to escalate. They have called for urgent action from the Indian government to ensure the protection and safety of all ethnic communities in the region and to prevent further bloodshed. Today marks the third anniversary of the tragic ambush that claimed the life of Colonel Viplav Tripathi, the commanding officer of 46 Assam Rifles, and 6 others, including his wife and young son. The attack occurred on November 13, 2021 near S2nd village in Churachandpur district, close to the Indo-Myanmar border. Colonel Tripathi, who was returning to his battalion from the Behing Company post, was ambushed by Meitei militants while traveling with his family and Assam Rifles personnel. The brutal assault resulted in the deaths of Colonel Tripathi, his wife, and 6-year-old son, along with 4 Assam Rifles personnel. Additionally, 6 others, including a Havildar, the commanding officer's driver, and members of the quick reaction team, sustained injuries in the attack. On this somber occasion, the Kuki Students' Organization General Headquarters expressed deep condolences to the families of the deceased, honoring the immense sacrifices made by the fallen soldiers and their families. The KSO, which represents the Kuki community, reiterated its unwavering stance that the sacrifices of these soldiers should never be forgotten. We stand firm in our belief that justice must prevail, the KSO said in a statement. The loss of Colonel Tripathi and his family and the deaths of our brave Assam Rifles personnel is a reminder of the tremendous risks our soldiers face in protecting our borders. Their sacrifice cannot be allowed to be in vain. However, 3 years on, the KSO expressed grave concern over the lack of progress in bringing the perpetrators of the attack to justice. Despite extensive investigation, those responsible for the ambush remained free and reportedly continue to operate with impunity. The KSO further accused the state government of allegedly shielding the militants behind the attack, complicating efforts to bring them to justice. These militants who carried out this heinous act are the same groups now actively involved in the ongoing violence against innocent Kuki civilians, the KSO noted. It is deeply concerning that the authorities have failed to hold these groups accountable for both the attack on Colonel Tripathi and the violence plaguing our communities. The KSO has called on the Ministry of Home Affairs to prioritize the capture and prosecution of the militants responsible for the attack. The continued delay in holding these terror groups accountable is an affront to the memory of fallen soldiers and to the ongoing fight for peace and justice in our region, the statement read. As the anniversary of this brutal attack passes, the KSO has called for swift and decisive action to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to justice and that such tragic acts do not go unpunished. The organization stressed that the sacrifices made by Colonel Tripathi and his team must be respected through concrete steps towards accountability and justice. The attack on Colonel Tripathi and his family remains one of the most devastating assaults on security forces in recent years, and the demand for justice for the victims continues to grow louder with its passing year. The KSO calls for immediate action, underscores the deep frustrations felt by the Kuki community over the ongoing conflict and the lack of accountability for acts of violence in the region. In response to the recent tragic incident in Jiribam district, where 10 Kuki village volunteers were allegedly killed by personnel of the Central Reserve Police Force, CRPF, various student organizations held an emergency joint meeting today. The meeting, chaired by Sasang Vaipei, president of the Kuki Students' Organization General Headquarters, was convened to discuss the next course of action following the brutal killings and to finalize the ongoing boycott movements against the CRPF. The meeting, which took place at the KSO General Headquarters office at the Kim Secretariat, included representatives from multiple student bodies with George Taylor, president of the Mar Students Association General Headquarters, offering the opening prayer. The gathering addressed the escalating tension after the tragic events in Jiribam and deliberated on a collective response to the CRPF actions. In light of the widespread condemnation of the CRPF actions in Jiribam, the meeting resolved to significantly escalate the ongoing non-cooperation movement against the paramilitary force. The boycott, which aims to sever all forms of interaction with the CRPF, was expanded with the following key measures. Non-violent resistance. The boycott will remain purely non-violent but will involve strict prohibitions of any form of contact with CRPF personnel. Individuals found engaging with the CRPF will face strong action by the student bodies. Restricting CRPF operations. The meeting decided to block the CRPF from carrying out normal activities, including frisking, patrolling, and other routine duties in the region. Steps will also be taken to restrict essential supplies including water, food, and electricity to CRPF camps and personnel in the area. Increased pressure. As part of the expanded non-cooperation, the student bodies will work to ensure that CRPF units cannot function properly in the district. The bodies also discuss further intensifying their actions depending on the CRPF response to the boycott. Collaborative efforts. The student groups plan to collaborate with other organizations, local stakeholders, and community leaders to amplify the effectiveness of the non-cooperation movement and to ensure widespread support. Public declaration. A town-wide tour was conducted later today alongside media representatives openly declaring the expanded boycott measures and informed the public not about the rationale behind the non-cooperation. A press conference and media briefing will follow to further explain the student body's stance against the CRPF actions and the tragic deaths of the 10 volunteers. The second major agenda of the meeting was to discuss the appropriate steps to honor the 10 Kuki martyrs who were killed during the CRPF operation in Jiribam. The meeting adopted the following resolutions. FIR registration. The student bodies called for an immediate registration of a first information report in relation to the deaths of the 10 Kuki volunteers, pushing for a formal investigation into the incident. Engagement with victims' families. The president of the HSS General Headquarters, George Tulor, was tasked with contacting the families of the deceased to extend condolences and to offer support during this difficult time. Joint appeal for endorsement. The student bodies decided to issue a joint appeal to all INPs and other civil society organizations to acknowledge the boycott and endorse the non-cooperation movement. The aim is to build a united front and increase the pressure on the authorities to take accountability for the incident. The joint meeting concluded with a strong resolution to stand in solidarity with the families of the martyrs and to continue the fight for justice in a peaceful but firm manner. The student made it clear that they would not rest until the CRPF officers responsible for the killings are held accountable. This declaration of non-cooperation and the call for justice for the 10 martyrs signals an intensification of student-led resistance against security forces in the region and reflects growing frustration over the ongoing violence and mistreatment by the CRPF. The outcome of today's meeting has set the stage for further public mobilization and collective action against the CRPF presence in the region. The chilling brutality faced by a 31-year-old Kuki woman in Manipur's Jiribam district on November 7 has come to light through an autopsy revealing third-degree torture with nails and burns inflicted before she was set on fire. The mother of 3 was allegedly raped and subsequently burned to death by armed intruders in her village home, sparking outrage and further violence in the region. The autopsy conducted at Silchar Medical College in Assam uncovered extensive torture, with a metallic nail embedded in the woman's thigh and wounds across her body. Tragically, the charred condition of her body prevented forensic experts from determining if she had been sexually assaulted. The report describes 99% burns with even bone fragments scorched and portions of her limbs and facial structure missing. According to the FIR filed in Jiribam, the woman's husband alleged that she was raped before being brutally killed at their residence. He claims members of a valley-based militant group ransacked and set 17 homes ablaze, including theirs. This incident has fueled tensions, with Kuki organizations condemning the attack and demanding justice. Community groups such as the Indigenous Tribes Advocacy Committee of Firjol and Jiribam have appealed for central government intervention to ensure the safety of the Kuki people. The Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum from Churachandpur warned of potential unrest if the attackers are not apprehended swiftly. The horrific attack adds to the ongoing ethnic turmoil in Manipur, where violence has targeted both sides of the Hill Valley divide since last year. Displaced families from tribal communities remain in relief shelters, with incidents of women being subjected to heinous assaults amid the persistent conflict. Assam Rifles on November 11 apprehended a suspected cadre of the United National Liberation Front, Koireng UNLFK, near the Indo-Myanmar border in More, Tingnopal district. Acting on credible intelligence, Assam Rifles personnel intercepted the individual as he attempted to cross the border into Indian territory. Troops monitoring the area noticed suspicious movement and observed a person approaching the border fence from Myanmar. As he crossed into India, he was challenged and detained by Assam Rifles. A thorough search revealed no weapons or contraband in his possession. During questioning, the individual identified himself as SS Private Cadre of UNLFK. He was handed over to More Police Station on November 12 for further investigation. Civil society organizations in Manipur have issued a 7-day ultimatum to the government, demanding urgent action to address the ongoing conflict in the state. The organizations have threatened to withdraw support from national political parties and launch a mass movement against political leaders if their demands are not met. Representatives from 13 organizations submitted a memorandum to the governor of Manipur, outlining 6 key demands. They warned that failure to act on these demands within a week would result in the withdrawal of support for political leaders regardless of party affiliation. The memorandum highlighted the growing frustration among the people of Manipur, who feel that national parties have shown a lack of commitment to the state's security and welfare. The current crisis in Manipur is characterized by ethnic violence, unchecked militant activity, and deteriorating law and order. Residents have been suffering due to armed militant aggressions, forced blockades, and escalating attacks, which threaten their livelihood and security. Despite repeated pleas from the public, many feel that national parties have failed to respond effectively, with interventions often seen as inadequate or biased. Following the submission of the memorandum, Shanta Nahakpam, spokesperson for the collective of 13 organizations, addressed the media. Nahakpam stated that they have presented a memorandum with 6 demands related to the ongoing crisis. The organizations are prepared to initiate a campaign of mass resignations by all members of Legislative Assembly if their demands are not fulfilled within 7 days. The urgent requests in the memorandum include the safe rescue of 6 hostages abducted by Kuki militants in Jiribam district, the implementation of legal and security measures to secure national highways, the establishment of a no-entry zone in vulnerable hill areas to protect farmers, and to improve coordination among all security forces to ensure a unified response in sensitive areas. The collective of 13 organizations includes the International Peace and Social Advancement, People's Action for National Democratic Movement, Kanglei Pak Lamjing Apunba Meira Pai Bi Loop, All Club Organization Association, and Meira Pai Bi Loop, Kanglei Pak Students Association, Indigenous People Association of Kanglei Pak, Chanura Lamchinglal Kangjai Pak, Kanglei Ima Loop, Laumi Yaipa Loop Kanglei Pak, Educational and Rural Development Organization, Malem Ima Kanba Loop, Struggling Women's Association, and Apunba Ketil Sinai Bi Loop. It is noteworthy that this organization imposed a 24-hour shutdown starting from 6 p.m. yesterday to protest the inadequate response from both state and central governments in protecting lives and property amid the ongoing crisis. Meghalaya's Northeastern Hill University faces a deepening crisis as students reject new administrative appointments, demanding the Vice-Chancellor resignation first. "We do not accept this kind of appointment. It's like pouring cold water in this heat we are experiencing," declared the Northeastern Hill University Union in a strongly worded statement last night, rejecting Vice-Chancellor Sukla's attempt to appoint 2 pro-Vice-Chancellors. The appointments of Professor Sherwin May Sungo and Professor Femelin K. Marak as pro-VCs for the Silong and Turak campuses respectively have failed to quell the ongoing protests, which entered their 9th day yesterday. Students continue their indefinite hunger strike that began on November 6. NEHU's Firm stance centers on one primary demand, the removal of VC Prabha Sankar Sukla. Until and unless we come together in unison and address the fact that our only and sole demand right now is the removal or resignation of the Vice Chancellor, we won't take his decision seriously, the union emphasized. The union further questioned the legitimacy of appointments made by an absconding administrator. How can he conduct meetings and make such decisions when he is in hiding, they asked, describing the VC's actions as attempts to remotely control the university. The crisis has effectively paralyzed campus operations since November 6, with protesters restricting entry and exit. Both the Khasi Student Union and Northeastern Hill University Teachers Association have backed NEHU's position, creating a unified front against the administration. Students also raised procedural concerns, noting the appointment of notification came from an unusual source, the assistant registrar planning rather than the joint registrar establishment. The notification itself is wrong, NEHUTA President Professor Lakhon Ma pointed out, further undermining the administration's credibility. Despite the chief minister's promise of a favorable response, protesters view the new appointments as an unsatisfactory solution to their fundamental grievances about university management. A violent clash erupted between doctors and a patient skinned over the non-availability of beds at Tata Nehru Hospital, the pediatric wing of MY Hospital in Indore, on Tuesday night. The family got enraged when the doctors said there was no bed available for their child in the PICU, an ICU for children. They called some dozen armed men. The goons stormed into the building and started creating a ruckus. They vandalized the hospital property, and 7 doctors were injured in the incident. A video of the same has surfaced on social media and is doing the rounds. A formal complaint has been filed. The police have begun further investigation into the matter. According to information, on Tuesday night at around 11 p.m., a scuffle broke out that soon turned bloody. At night, there were 7 doctors posted on duty in the PICU of New Chatsworth. Here, a family whose child was being treated at the PICU asked for a separate bed. The doctors tried to tell them that the PICU was full and there was no other bed. Hearing this, the kin started abusing the doctors on duty. When the doctors tried to pacify the family, it enraged them more. The family threatened to kill the doctors if their demands were not met. Furthermore, the kin of the patient called up a dozen armed men. The armed assailants stormed the wing and started beating up the doctors on duty. The altercation took a bloody turn, injuring almost all 7 doctors. Seeing the altercation grow, police were called. Police came on time and intervened before any serious injuries were endured. The doctors of the MY hospital have filed a formal complaint with the hospital superintendent. In the complaint, they have described the whole altercation and have demanded a thorough investigation into the matter. Police, on the other hand, have filed a complaint against the kin of the patient and have begun their investigation. Following incidents of violence, the Junior Doctors Association has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the authorities of MY Hospital and MGM Medical College, demanding immediate action to strengthen security measures. Working in an insecure environment where doctors constantly fear being attacked is unacceptable, stated the JDA, highlighting the urgency for a safer workplace. If adequate security enhancements are not implemented within the given time frame, the association warns they will initiate a strike to protest the lack of protection for healthcare workers. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Wednesday asserted that Article 370, which granted special status to Jammu and Kashmir, will not be restored even if Congress stalwart and late PM Indira Gandhi comes down from heaven. The BJP star campaigner sought to corner the Congress over Muslim reservation and accused the main opposition party of deliberately stalling construction of a Ram temple at Ayodhya for years. With just a week left for the high-stakes assembly polls in Maharashtra, Shah stepped up his campaigning for the ruling Mahayuti front, of which the BJP is a member, and addressed 3 rallies in a day where he attacked the Congress and its Maha Vikas Aghadi. MVA allies Shiv Sena UBT. Addressing a rally at Dhule in North Maharashtra, Shah said Congress leader Rahul Gandhi should remember that even if his fourth generation was to come, Muslims won't get reservations meant for Dalits, tribals, and other backward castes. A few days ago, ulemas, Muslim scholars, met the president of Congress party and said Muslims should be given reservation in jobs and education. If reservation has to be given to Muslims, then reservations for SCs, STs, OBCs will have to be cut. Rahul Baba, not only you, but even if your four generations were to come, they cannot cut the quota mean for SCs, STs, OBCs and give it to Muslims, Shah insisted. The Union Minister made it clear that Article 370 scrapped in 2019 by the BJP-led central government won't be restored under any circumstances. Even if Indira Gandhi were to return from heaven, Article 370 won't be restored, the BJP stalwart told the gathering. Describing the opposition MVA grouping as an Aurangzeb fan club, Shah noted that the BJP-led Mahayuti alliance, advised by the idols of Maratha warrior King Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and freedom fighter Veer Savarkar. At another election meeting in Jalgaon, also in North Maharashtra, the former BJP president averred that if the MVA wins the November 20 assembly polls, the state will turn into an ATM, automated teller machine for the Congress. The MVA will withdraw funds from Maharashtra by using the state's resources and send the money to Delhi. In contrast, if the BJP-led Mahayuti forms a government, the Modi administration will ensure greater development for Maharashtra, Shah said at the meeting in Chalisgaon town. Targeting Gandhi, the Lok Sabha MP from Raebareli, he accused his party of making false promises and misleading people. Recently, Rahul Gandhi was seen waving a copy of Baba Saheb Ambedkar's constitution. He used the same copy while taking the oath in parliament. When some journalists got their hands on the very copy, it had blank pages. By showing a fake constitution, Rahul broke the trust of people and insulted Baba Saheb. Apparently, you have never read the constitution, Rahul Baba Shah said. The Sonia Manmohan regime did not act against Naxalism and terrorism for 10 years due to vote bank politics, the Home Minister opined. The entire Congress politics runs on deception. They are saying that after the formation of the Mahayuti government in June 2022, investment in Maharashtra has reduced. The truth is, after the formation of the government of CM Eknath Shinde and Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis, our Maharashtra is #1 state in FDI inflows in India, he said. A Mahayuti government polls will work more for the welfare of women, farmers and other sections of society, Shah mentioned. Your one vote will not only form a Mahayuti government, but your one vote will also deposit rupees 2,100 in the account of Maharashtra's beloved sisters. Your one vote will result in depositing rupees 15,000 instead of rupees 12,000 annually in farmers' account, he said. The BJP leader said Prime Minister Narendra Modi's guarantee is like Pathar ki Lakir, carved in stone, whereas the Congress reneged on pre-poll promises in Telangana, Karnataka and Himachal Pradesh after coming to power in these states. Targeting NCP-SP President Sharad Pawar, Shah said the senior politician served as Maharashtra CM and also as a union minister for many years, but did not do anything to give classical language status to Marathi. At his third rally at Jintur in Prabhani district in the Marathawada region, Shah averred that Congress MP Gandhi, who has been campaigning for the MVA in Maharashtra, will fail once again. Sonia Ji tried to land the plane named Rahul Baba 20 times and 20 times the plane crashed. Now again, an attempt is being made to land the plane for the 21st time in Maharashtra. Sonia Ji, your Rahul plane is going to crash for the 21st time, the BJP leader opined. American forces on Tuesday carried out strikes against targets linked to an Iranian-backed militia in Syria in response to a rocket attack on Washington's troops in the country, the U.S. military said. The strikes targeted the group's weapons storage and logistics headquarters facility in response to a rocket attack on U.S. personnel, the U.S. Central Command said in a post on social media that did not identify the militia by name. There was no damage to U.S. facilities and no injuries to U.S. or partner forces during the attack, CENTCOM said. The previous day, U.S. forces combined 9 targets associated with Iranian-backed groups in response to recent drone and rocket attacks, according to the Pentagon. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a monitoring group, said the Monday strikes killed 4 members of groups loyal to Iran. The U.S. military has around 900 troops in Syria and 2,500 in Iraq as part of the international coalition that was established in 2014 to help combat the Islamic State jihadist group. Since war broke out in the Gaza Strip after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, 2023, pro-Iran groups have repeatedly targeted U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria in response to Washington's support for Israel. The United States has on multiple occasions responded to such attacks with strikes on Iran-backed groups. Authorities in the southern Chinese city of Zhuhai removed rods, candles, and even bottles of Chinese alcohol laid at the scene of the deadliest mass killing in the country in a decade, as the government scrambled to respond and censor the outrage online. On Monday, a male driver angry at his divorce settlement rammed his car into a crowd at a sports center in the city of 2.5 million, killing 35 people and injuring 43, but the government took almost a day to announce the death toll. This prompted an outrage on Chinese social media, where posts complaining about the government's slow response and raising questions about the mental health of a nation second by a recent spat of similar killings were being quickly removed. Despite the efforts to clear the site in Zhuhai, which is near Macau, delivery drivers on motorbikes kept dropping off fresh flowers on Wednesday morning, even as authorities erected temporary barriers around the makeshift vigil area and deployed security personnel. The authorities had not released any information. Some colleagues mentioned it and I could not believe it at first, but it was confirmed later, said the 50-year-old man who identified himself as Zheng, who brought flowers to the site. It's just a spontaneous feeling I had. Even though I don't know them personally, I had family members who passed away in the past, so I understand that feeling, said Zheng. Some rats carried handwritten notes. Strangers travel well. May there be no demons in heaven, read one. On another, may there be no thugs in heaven. Good will triumph over evil. Rest in peace. After initially allowing journalists to briefly speak to the people laying the flowers, a handful of security personnel sporting light blue uniforms and caps told reporters not to talk to the people or to film specific messages on the bouquets. The attack happened at Zhuhai, captured China's attention with the People's Liberation Army's largest annual air show, where a new stealth jet fighter is on display for the first time. China's state broadcaster CCTV did not mention the attack in its 30-minute midday news bulletin. Instead, the program led with President Xi Jinping's departure for the APEC summit in Peru and devoted a portion of the airtime to the air show. Other state media, such as Chinese language website, also prominently displayed the news on Xi's upcoming visit to Peru. The Current Affairs, part of the China's daily website, and the local area page did not mention the incident either. 3 senior Hezbollah commanders were confirmed killed in Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon, the Israel Defense Forces announced on Wednesday. Among the targeted were Ayman Mohammad Nabulsi, an anti-tank missile unit head, and Hash Ali Youssef Salah, commander of the Tebnit area, along with a third commander responsible for significant rocket attacks on northern Israel. In the Gaza area, these strikes form parts of Israel's effort to neutralize Hezbollah's capabilities in southern Lebanon amid intensified border hostilities. A series of recent airstrikes also destroyed Hezbollah's weapons storage and production sites in Beirut's Dahieh district, significantly reducing the group's capacity for missile production. Dahieh, a stronghold for Hezbollah, harbors a network of underground sites used to manufacture and store weapons near civilian areas, a practice the IDF says endangers local residents. IDF intelligence has stressed these facilities to funds and guidance from Iran, which Israel argues bolsters Hezbollah's long-range missile program aimed at striking Israeli territories. Since October 7, following a series of attacks by Hamas, Hezbollah has launched daily rocket and drone strikes on northern Israel. The ongoing conflict has displaced over 68,000 northern Israeli residents. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu previously highlighted Hezbollah's stockpile of weapons in The Hague at the United Nations address in 2020, calling attention to the risk posed to Lebanese civilians living in close proximity to such sites. That is all for today's news, and have a pleasant evening ahead.